It is 7 p.m. on Tuesday, the 22nd of February in the year of our Lord 2022. This is the Stayton City Council, a regularly scheduled meeting. We are meeting here at 400 West Virginia Street at our community center, and I'm going to declare the meeting open. And could we start with a flag salute, please? Oops, let me stagger them here. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, folks. Here we go. Okay, under announcements, are there any additions to the agenda? Or declarations of ex parte contact, conflicts of interest, bias, or other general hatreds? No? Okay. I don't have any appointments this evening. Is there any public comment? Alyssa?
No, Mayor, we didn't receive
Okay,
any requests.
All right, thank you. Okay. The consent agenda for this evening, and we have a quorum with two counselors present and Counselor Ort coming at us through the airways. And do I see, is that Council McDonald down there too? Hello, Ben. All right. Jordan? Okay, so we have a quorum. The consent agenda for this evening is January 24th of 2022, City Council Special Session Minutes, February 7th of this year, Council Work Session Minutes, and February 7th, a City Council Regular Session Minutes. So we've got some things on the consent agenda. Councilors?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
this is Counselor Patty. I move that we accept those minutes as presented.
Do that again, please.
Mr. Mayor, this is Counselor Patty. I move that we accept those minutes as presented.
Oh, okay, fine, thank you.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thought I heard something else. I had a motion in the second to accept those various what's the next word I wanted? Sense of workshop, minutes of workshops and council on the consent agenda. Thank you, gentlemen. There's no discussion. Alyssa, would you poll the council, please?
Sure. Counselor Ort,
Yes.
Counselor McDonald,
Yes.
Okay.
Counselor Quigley,
Yes.
Counselor Patty.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, thank you, folks. And we've got the consent agenda under wraps. Okay, tonight, in the way of business, we have a public hearing on a comprehensive plan and zone map amendments for 205 and 209 West Water Street. And so, before we start, I have to read this bunch of comments that have to go on the record. So here we go. And bear with me, please. Good evening. My name is Henry Porter. I'm the mayor of Stayton. I'll be presiding over this hearing. This is the time and place set for the City Council's public hearing in the matter of land use file number 15-21/20, 15-12-20, or Jesus, /21. Thank you. 15-12-21. An application for a comprehensive plan map amendment and a zone map amendment to change the properties 205 West Water Street and 209 West Water Street from a comprehensive plan map designation of residential to commercial and a zone change from high-density residential to commercial retail. The hearing's now open. Oregon land use law requires a statement be made to those in attendance that covers certain matters relative to this case. That statement, with all the information required to be presented under the Oregon Revised Statutes number 197.763, bracket 5, is printed and available at the back counter. If you have not yet received one of these forms, you should go get one and review it prior to presenting your testimony. If anyone has any questions regarding anything in the statement or objects to it not being read out loud, please raise those questions when it comes your turn to speak during the hearing. Also at the back counter is the agenda for this evening's meeting, which lays out the order in which the public will be called on to speak during the public hearing. The Planning Commission's rules of procedure for land use public hearings and a brochure written to facilitate your participation in the public hearing is in the back. You are encouraged to obtain and read a copy of these documents as well. At this time, I would ask the audience if there are any objections to the notice that was sent in this case. I hear none. To the jurisdiction of this body to hear and consider this case. Okay. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest or ex parte contact or bias by any members of this body? I hear none. We are now ready, thank you. We are now ready for the staff introduction. Dan, would you like to go ahead and take us through this, please?
Sure thing. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the public. As was stated in the mayor's opening statement, the hearing before you tonight is on concurrent applications for a comprehensive plan map amendment and a zoning map amendment. It's for two parcels that are addressed as being on West Water Street. One of them has frontage on West Water Street. It is the first property behind Ferreras Building Supply, and the second parcel is a vacant parcel that is located behind that to the north. The current comprehensive plan designation is residential, and the application requests it be changed to commercial. And the current zoning is high-density residential, and the application requests that the zoning be changed to commercial retail. With that, I will wrap up the introduction, and I will be back with the staff report after the applicant's presentation.
Okay. Get paperwork sorted out here. Thank you, Dan, for now. And as we go on, so we've got A, B, and C, the applicant presentation, please.
I've been waiting to do that. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, both in person and online, virtually. My name is Jeff Tross, Land Use Consultant, Tross Consulting, Inc., 1720 Liberty Street, Southeast, Salem, 97302. I'm here tonight to present this application on behalf of Ferreras Business Supply, and with me this evening, in the event you have questions that I can't answer, is Dan Goodman, seated behind me, the general manager of the company, and so together we'll be able to address whatever questions you may have. Very quickly and very briefly, this is an interesting application, first because Ferreras Business Supply has been at its present location at 101 North First Street since 1946. It's been an anchor of the downtown business district since that time, and it, of course, wishes to continue to do so. The property, or the business, has gradually expanded over the years, along with the growth of the community and serving the needs of the community. And what makes this interesting is that the choice was made to stay downtown rather than move to some outlying location where there's a bigger property and a lot more space. They've decided to expand in place so that they can remain a part of the central city. And this is actually pretty unusual when you think about it. When you think of other communities in this area, as well as nationally, really, most of the large building supply companies have moved out from their central location from years ago, but that's not the case here. It's part of what makes Stayton what it is today and keeps customers and business in the central city and in the downtown area. So the proposal tonight is really to allow them to put an additional building supply warehouse on property that's within the cluster of the existing retail store and the other supply properties over on Water Street, keep everything in a concise and compact arrangement where the community is familiar with it, and allow life to continue as it has for these many years. So that is the essence of this application, and if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there questions for this gentleman at this point? Anything?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for now.
Thank you.
Dan, back to you with a staff report.
So you should have in your packet my written staff report, copies of the application materials, including the narrative prepared by Mr. Tross, memos from, and which includes the required transportation analysis when we go through a comprehensive plan and zone map amendment, review comments from the city's transportation planning consultant, which pretty much says that they agree with the conclusions reached in the TPR analysis, the transportation planning rule analysis, et cetera. The application itself asks for the comprehensive plan amendment and the zone map amendment for these two parcels. The vacant parcel, as is illustrated in my staff report, the northern vacant parcel was part of a partitioning that was just recorded in the past, I think it was mid-December, so now 2 months ago, but has not yet made it into the county's tax maps. The current zoning boundaries follow the previous parcel boundaries. Among the recommendations from the Planning Commission and from staff is that in addition to changing the comprehensive plan map designation for these two parcels and the zone map for these two parcels, that we also change the zoning of parcel 1 of the partitioning that is currently split by a zone boundary. Most of the property of that parcel is in the medium density residential zone, but there's a triangle at the southern part that is currently zoned high density. And so the recommendation from the Planning Commission and from staff, as is incorporated into the draft ordinance you have before you, would place that entire parcel in the medium density zone, in addition to changing the other two parcels. So again, Planning Commission held their public hearing. There was at the end of January, there was one member of the public here who really just had some questions about future development. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended that you hold tonight's public hearing and approve the application, and staff has the same recommendation. So if you have any questions, I can answer them. Otherwise, staff report provides you with a number of options and motions to implement them.
Questions from the council? Anything, guys? Ladies?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes. Councilor Orr?
this is Councilor Orr. Thank you.
Yes.
Dan, so you mentioned that one member of the public came, but did any of the neighbors have any communication with you or the Planning Commission about any concerns about changing the zoning?
The one member of the public who came is a neighbor, is a resident at the corner of Ida and Alder. And I would summarize their concerns or questions were about the potential for impact of traffic using North Alder Ave. Parcel 2, for which you're contemplating this comprehensive plan amendment and zone map amendment, does not have legal access to Alder Ave. So upon being informed of that, I would interpret that their concerns were taken care of. And otherwise, no, I did not receive any questions or comments from anybody who received notice of the hearing.
Okay. One more follow-up question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead, please. I want to make sure that I don't know if we go through with this, that it's not gonna, I always feel like no one says anything, and then after the fact, we get a whole bunch of people who are upset about a decision that was made. So, I mean, I know that the neighborhood gets notices and whatnot, but are there, like, besides traffic impacts, are there any noise issues that could come about from expanding? Because the store's already there, but expanding it, right? That's what we're talking about. It's putting a new supply facility. Is that gonna kind of disrupt the flow of the neighborhood that way? I don't know if that's a question for you or for the applicant.
I'll answer it, and then if the applicant wants to say something different or in addition, he'll have that opportunity. In the packet is a conceptual sketch showing the likely location of this additional building materials storage warehouse. It's in the, southeast corner of parcel 2. It's actually mostly on an area that is currently zoned commercial retail. What's shown in the staff report as tax lot 6600, which is a small rectangle in the southeast corner there, today is zoned commercial retail. It will just be a warehouse. There will be delivery of materials to the warehouse, and there will be shipment of materials out on the applicant's trucks. But all the traffic will be directed down towards West Water Street. Additionally, I'll say that while tonight the public hearing is on comprehensive plan and zone map amendment, which would set the stage for this development, the development will have another public hearing as it goes through site plan review process before the Planning Commission, where issues of noise and impacts on the neighborhood will be addressed. Obviously, your decision tonight will set the stage for that to happen, but you're not approving a development here. That will be the Planning Commission's job should you choose to change the comp plan designation and zone map.
Awesome, thank you.
Other questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
first, I think it's important that I failed to acknowledge at the beginning that I have driven by this property numerous times, and in fact, I have purchased services from that location, but that won't influence my decision tonight. My question is, and I think Dan already covered it, there was a reference to the high-density piece of property being landlocked, correct? Correct? Essentially landlocked?
Yes, what is shown as parcel 2 of the 2021 partitioning is a back lot that has an access easement through the other parcel the other lot that's before you tonight for access, vehicular access out to West Water Street.
Okay.
It does not have legal vehicular access to the north, to North Alder Ave.
Okay, yep. That's my point of clarification. I think Councilor Ord asked the same question I was asking about the surrounding community members, if anyone expressed any opposition or whatnot. So, thank you.
Mr.
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilor Patty.
Yes, go ahead.
I would be remiss if I didn't add that I've also driven by this property and purchased goods and also solicited advice on home projects from this place, but it will not impact my judgment tonight.
Pretty hard to live here 50 years and not have had something to do with that business. Lots of fun over the years. Just a quick question, Dan, and you may have hit on this, and this may be, in fact, you probably did, and this is kind of replying to Councilor Ort's question. Any concerns about, I guess, especially truck delivery traffic on West Water? That gets to be addressed later through the Planning Commission and another hearing on that?
That will be specifically addressed through the site plan review process. The issue before you tonight, while again peripheral or leading to allowing that site plan review process to take place, is whether changing the color on the zoning map could lead to a substantial adverse impact on our transportation system. So that's where that transportation planning rule analysis that was submitted and concluded that the amount of traffic that is likely to be generated by not the applicant's proposal, but the worst case scenario under a new commercial retail zoning designation compared to what could happen under the existing high-density residential zoning designation. That analysis concluded that our transportation system, with the planned improvements in our transportation system plan, will be able to handle the increased traffic. And the city's transportation planning consultant reviewed that analysis and agreed with it. So that doesn't address, one's passenger vehicles and the other is delivery vehicles of building supply. But that will be specifically addressed when they return with a site plan review application before the Planning Commission.
So things like widening streets and widening corners would be part of that?
If necessary, that would be part of what is looked at that time.
Okay, all right, good, thank you. Other questions? There'll be more later probably. Okay, under proponents' testimony, is there anything, anyone else here that would like to testify for this proposal or these proposals? If not, opponents' testimony. How about government agencies? Is there any general testimony? How about questions from the public? More questions from the council? Anything? How about an applicant summary? Could we do that, please?
Well, thank you. If all your questions have been answered, I don't think there's a whole lot for us to summarize. This will be a very low-key type of addition to the business. As Dan told you, there will be no public access to the new warehouse. It'll be strictly for employees. It will take care of materials that are currently left outside on other parts of the property. So I would say it's a far less impactful proposal than if the property developed under its current zoning of high-density residential, with the amount of residential development that could occur there. The traffic study, in fact, showed that the amount of traffic that would result from a high-density residential development would actually exceed the threshold for a significant impact, whereas this is well below that impact. So
Okay,
I think I'll leave it at that.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there, how about a staff summary? Dennis?
I don't really have anything else to say. You've got a draft ordinance in front of you, and the staff's recommendation is to enact it as presented.
Okay, all right, thank you. Let's close the hearing and go to council deliberation. What do you folks think? And those of you out watching us carefully, anything to offer, counselors?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ed? Councilman? McCarthy?
apologize for not thinking of this earlier, and this is probably a question for Dan, but on the first parcel, there's a single-family dwelling on there. Is there, forgive me if I didn't notice earlier, but is there a plan to, I mean, is that dwelling occupied? Is there a plan for the change in development on that parcel?
I don't know. Who did you want to address that question to?
I guess that's for Dan.
I will express some concern with answering this question after the hearing's been closed. The
We would
how-
need to open the hearing back up, right?
That would be best, is for a motion to reopen the hearing. And to do so, and then we can answer that question.
Would someone like?
I'll do that then. I'll make a motion to reopen the hearing temporarily.
Mr. Mayor, this is Counselor Patty. I'll second that motion.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to reopen the hearing on public hearing on ordinance number 1053, comprehensive plan and zone map amendments for 205 to 209 West Water Street. Discussion? Would you poll the
I'm
group,
good
please?
with opening it up.
Sure. Counselor Patty?
Yes.
Counselor Quigley?
Okay.
Counselor Ort?
Yes.
Counselor McDonald?
Yep.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay. All right, thank you. Hearing's reopened.
So with that, the question was about the status of the existing single-family house at 209 West Water. That house is currently occupied. I'll leave it to the applicant to correct me, but my understanding is they intend to leave the house there. There is a building materials storage shed on that property today that they intend to remove to provide access to parcel 2 in the back for the new warehouse and continue. My understanding is they intend to leave the existing single-family house there and continue to rent it.
Okay. Thank you very much. I apologize for not bringing that up earlier.
Accurate?
Still back under staff summary. Are there any, how
No.
about questions? Any other questions that we need this hearing to be left open to be answered? What if I close the hearing now again?
It would seem that's.
That's
no,
what it says,
we-
that's what my
that-
agenda
that's-
says I'm supposed to do.
Right.
So close it and go to deliberation. Let's do that. Okay. Hearing's closed again and our council deliberation. Okay? Folks, what would you like to do?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I just want to acknowledge staff and the applicant for putting together a thorough package here. All of my questions were answered within reading the documents. So it's nice to see that come to the council with a recommendation, so I'm good with it.
Okay. All right, good.
Mr. Mayor, this is Counselor
Yes.
Patty. Also, thank you to staff. Good work on this. Very helpful. And I appreciated the detail about the traffic impact and kind of what state law looks like on that. And that was actually really informative to me, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Others? You folks ready to go to a decision on this ordinance then, on 1053? Options are approve the application with the first consideration of ordinance 1053, approve the application and the ordinance with modifications, that's the second option. Three is deny the application. 4, continue the hearing until March 7th. Or 5, close the hearing but keep the record open for submission of written testimony. So those are some options.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Counselor Ort.
I just have a clarifying question.
Okay.
If we choose option number 1, which is to approve the application and the first consideration of the ordinance, does that include, Dan was talking about a suggestion of, in addition to what we were talking, I can't remember, Dan, you were saying that you had the planning commission had another suggestion. Do we need to add that to this, or is this also in there?
The changing the zoning map for parcel 1 of the partitioning is included in the draft ordinance that is before you.
Okay. And that's what you were talking about?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it encompassed everything that you were saying. We didn't have to add anything. That's all.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Thank you, Counselor.
Mr. Mayor, I'm ready to offer a motion if you're willing to accept it.
I think we're okay unless any of the other counselors have comments.
Okay?
Let's go with a
Sure.
motion and see what happens.
Mr. Mayor, I offer a motion to approve the application and the first consideration of ordinance 1053.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, this is Counselor Patty. I second that motion.
okay, thank you. I've got a motion and a second to approve the application and the first consideration of ordinance 1053. So we've got, this has to be unanimous to be enacted. If it isn't, it comes back to the March 7th meeting, so. Anything else? Melissa, pull the council, please, on me.
Sure. Counselor Patty?
Yes.
Counselor Ort?
Yes.
Counselor Quigley?
Yes.
Counselor McDonald?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you, folks. All right, we're good there.
Melissa, you could hear me, right?
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I gotcha.
Okay. All right, good. Got that one. Under general business tonight, something else? Oh, closing statement. Don't be afraid to yell a little bit, Dan. Read the finishing statement. Only been doing this for a dozen or 15 years, missed that one. Council's action may be appealed within 21 days of the mailing of the notice of decision to the Land Use Board of Appeals under the Oregon Revised Statutes 197.805-855. Okay, got it. Again, under general business, Stayton City Manager recruitment. Alyssa? With a staff report.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have before you consideration and adoption of the official position documents for the city manager position that was put together by Jensen Strategies. This includes the position profile, hiring procedures, and consensus on setting the salary range. Amelia Wallace joins us from Jensen Strategies this evening virtually. She is here and can answer any questions that you might have for her. Now, I will
There she is.
leave that to you guys if you have any questions.
Okay.
Mayor and Council, it's very nice to see you again, and please let me know if I can answer any questions. We hope that the revisions met with your approval and appreciated the discussion, and happy to provide any additional support.
Mr. Mayor, this is
Yes.
Councilor Patty. I did have a question for Jensen, if I may.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I had reviewed the candidate profile, and at the very end towards there was a salary range. And I was just kind of curious as far as that, I mean, that's a $30,000 variation between those two numbers. So I'm curious, is that a total that we would identify through executive session and council, or would that be something that Jensen provides some kind of guidance with formula to determine the amount that we should be offering a city manager candidate?
Great question, Counselor. Thank you. So essentially, the salary range that we provide is something that it is the council's prerogative to determine a level in between based on the specific candidates selected. So as far as where this occurs in the process, that will happen after council deliberations. Typically, in other cities that we've worked with, the typical process has been that after the candidate is selected, the council then discusses an approach to the negotiation with the selected candidate and directs the city attorney and typically another staff person to enter into negotiations with the final candidate. And as far as where the council decides to approach that negotiation, that's really up to you all. There's a lot of factors that can go into that, level of experience, relevance of past experience, communities or regions, and other factors. And as far as our involvement in the process, we leave that up to you all. We are happy to assist once the candidate is selected in providing a recommendation or helping the council reach an appropriate approach.
Thank you. It would be my hope, at least, that we would have your assistance throughout that process to determine the appropriate amount to be offering a candidate. So thank you. I appreciate you giving me some guidance on that.
Let me ask
No
one.
problem.
If would you take another question, please?
Absolutely.
Okay. When you're out recruiting and talking to these folks, I'm curious about how you approach this. How do I ask this? What kind of salary do you expect?
I'm sorry,
that the
Mayor,
way
I'm
you
not
go
sure
out?
I understand your question. It
Well-
would be within the range that we've proposed, and it would be based on the candidate's experience.
So they get to see this something like this, what you've given us.
Yes, sir. I understand your question now. So when we advertise the position, we put together a recruitment profile that includes all of the information that was set in the candidate profile so that the candidates that are applying know what your city is looking for. So that has the attributes as well as the council priorities, as well as a description of the community that they're going to be ideally coming to join, and information about the city organization, so size and other details. And that will be distributed to all the places that we advertise the position, which also includes the salary range. Does that answer your question, Mayor?
No? Where do you start with the financial juggling, let's call it? This candidate expects a certain salary. You're talking to them for the first or second or third time, and this community can, where do you start with this? What the counselor, what the candidate expects, or what some range of numbers that this community can pay, or where do you start?
Yeah, so as far as setting the candidate's expectations going in, this is a negotiation that will be determined once you've actually identified a candidate, and that's actually the exact process that we were offering to support the council's work in. So all of that would be based on, the individual candidate the council selects, taking into account the factors that I mentioned previously. And it would be something that we would either do in coordination with the city manager or at the direction of council.
Okay.
And as far as tonight, I do want to emphasize that that's not a decision that the council needs to make tonight. I'm happy to provide more information about the process or answer any questions, but all the council needs to be comfortable with this evening is the salary range, and that's something that a candidate that really hits all of their marks, that they'd be comfortable paying at the higher range, and that the lower range is still going to provide you a competitive offer to get a really high quality caliber of candidates, which we believe this range will accomplish. Does that help?
Nope.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I apologize.
Where candidate comes in that's very good, because I'm worth every penny of it, and these people need to know that. I need 175 without any of the perks, like a house, a car,
Right.
6 weeks vacation.
So typically, since the benefits are advertised, including the salary range, that's something that if that were to arise, I think the city would choose not to negotiate with that candidate.
But you would present it.
The candidate in this scenario would have all of the information about the benefits and would have the option to choose whether or not to apply for the position.
Okay. That'll work. That's fine. Thank you.
So they know they have the salary range, right? When they're applying for the job, they can see that that's our expectation.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you, Counselor.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilor Patty.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I may follow up on kind of the mayor's line of inquiry here, I think what we're getting at is if a candidate's coming in and they're specifically identifying that they would like more or something outside of this range, would Jensen even be screening that person or considering them in any way?
So that's typically not something that we discuss in the interview phase. If that was particularly important to the candidate, or that's not something we specifically asked about in the interview phase, but we do often get questions from the candidates about the benefits. If they have specific concerns about the details of the position, that's absolutely something we provide information on in advance as much as possible. And in this case, we would not indicate any expectation to a candidate that had questions about it that the city was willing to go beyond the range, unless the city indicated that and adopted a different range.
Okay. Is it typical for a candidate to ask for something above those ranges in negotiation?
We haven't experienced that. Of course, anything is possible, but we're also happy to ask any confirmation questions to just confirm that the candidates have actually not just received, but actually are aware of all of the benefits, if that would make the council comfortable.
Not necessarily. I just was kind of curious what is typical in this situation, and that you've answered my question. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. And Mayor, did I address your question as well? I want to make sure that I answered it.
You did better. Yeah. Councilor Patty did better on clarifying my scrambled concern. So appreciate that. Yeah.
No trouble. It's a team effort.
Okay. Other questions for our Jensen representative this evening? We need to take some action on this, I guess.
Yes, that is the hope.
Oh,
we are hoping you will adopt the position this evening so we can begin advertising the position and stay on our recruitment schedule.
Is there any public comment for the massive public that's here?
I did not receive any requests, Mayor,
Okay.
to
All right.
speak.
That's fine. Okay. What would you folks like to do with this?
Mr. Mayor, this is
Yes.
Counselor Patty. I motion to adopt the city manager position profile, hiring procedures, and recommended salary range as presented.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Counselor Ort. Counselor Patty makes a motion, offers a motion to the city to adopt the city manager position profile, hiring procedures, and recommended salary range as presented. And there's a motion and a second, I think. I think there was. So what would you folks like to do with this? We can discuss it some more, if you like. Now, Ms. Jensen, Representative, we're on track to get a city manager candidate whoa, here we go.
Yes, the recruitment schedule's at the end, and we'll have our finalist week the week of April 25th.
Okay.
So
and-
after that point, you would enter into negotiations and discuss how to begin, how to onboard the candidate.
Potentially in the next 6 weeks. Mid-April, yeah. Okay, all right. Anything else?
Mr. Mayor, a quick question.
Yes, Ben.
This is for Amelia. If for whatever reason by that date, we don't have a candidate that meets our criteria that's outlined here, do we just come back and extend the deadline, or what's the procedure at that point?
Yeah, great question. So we would know typically so the executive session in which we will present semifinalist candidates at that time, we will recommend 4 to proceed to the final round. We have been experiencing higher turnover in the job position. So we typically recommend that the council designate an alternate in the case that a candidate drops out. So as far as having, a number of candidates to consider, that will be handled long before the April deadline, which likely would not cause any implications for the schedule. If at the end, once you deliberate and select your first choice candidate, if for whatever reason the deliberations don't go all the way through, we can assist either approaching your alternate candidate or identify an alternative to move forward.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Other questions, thoughts? You made a comment, ma'am, just a little bit ago about high turnover in applicants or the
Yes.
number of positions that are advertised.
Yeah, I apologize. That was poor phrasing. We've had candidates drop out of the process, and so we've recommended that cities designate additional finalists just in case, in order to keep the project on course, if that is to occur.
Okay. There's probably another question there, but I can't think of how to ask it. I guess I'm curious a little bit about our Oregon mid-level, say 5 to 20,000 populations. Are they more demanding now? Are the 2020s a tough area to place city managers? Can you take a read?
It's not a lack of people applying to positions. It's just a very active job market. And so people have been accepting positions while they're in other processes. And that's something we plan for. So.
Okay, all right, good, thank you. I still don't
No
think
problem.
I'm asking very pointed questions. I'd like to, but I can't seem to get them in my head right. Other questions and thoughts? Folks? No? We're good? Let's vote on this then. Alyssa, we've got a motion to adopt a city manager position profile, hiring procedures, and recommended salary range as presented. Would you poll the council on this, please?
Sure. Counselor Quigley,
Yes.
Counselor Patty,
Yes.
Counselor Ort,
Yes.
Counselor McDonald.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thanks, Amelia.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
The only thing we've got left, the only things we've got left, communication from city staff. What is the staff doing that has come in and yelled at you and you need to share with us?
Things are going good. We're, as an executive team, been prepping for budget
Okay.
and
All right,
getting ready
good.
for that. And it looks like Dan might have a little update also.
I've got a communication for you. It's not really for you as much as it is for whoever may be watching out there. But, and we'll have an announcement in the upcoming city newsletter. But as you know, the city has a fund to loan money to income qualified homeowners for housing improvements. And that those loans, when those loans are repaid, it recharges the fund. So we now have enough loans that have been repaid that we're looking to lend out money again. So we have almost $100,000 available to loan out. Needs to be owner occupied, income qualified. So if you as council members know anybody who would be interested, or if anyone listening is interested, they should contact me to get more details. And I usually do an initial screening over the phone, you know, how many people are in your household, is your income below X? And then if the answers are correct, then I send them on to the folks that administer the loan program for us. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we do have money out there, probably for another 4 or 5 loans, if people are interested.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Dan, do you have like a frequently asked questions sheet or anything that goes in line with that we can share with community members who are interested?
Yeah,
I'll be directing them
there's
to
an
you, of
8.5
course.
by 11 trifold brochure that says, here's how the program works, here's what the current income levels are by household size, and where to get more information.
Perfect. Is that found on the city website?
It is on the city's
Okay.
website. There is a housing rehabilitation program page.
Okay. All right, good enough. Communications from, was that it, Alyssa? Communications from myself and the council. I don't have anything extra this evening. Is there anything out there else that we need to talk about?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just a quick question, since the budget's coming up, do we have any openings on the budget committee still, Alyssa?
We sure do. We have 2 openings, I believe it is, off the top of my head, for budget committee members. And we also have a vacancy on our Parks and Recreation Board, and the Public Arts Commission has, I believe, 2 more vacancies.
Okay. All right, good. And those are being constantly announced and on websites, on
They are.
the
It-
monthly, semi-monthly newsletter.
Yep, it actually is going to be in the next newsletter. I think we posted about it last week on Facebook.
Okay.
So, yeah, definitely trying to get the word out there to get those positions filled.
I probably should, I'll try to do this, make a contact with those folks that applied for vacant council positions in the past and see if we can get maybe some of them to think about getting on, or applying at least for these boards and commissions. Yeah, okay, good. So I'll try to take that on. Anything else this evening?
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilor Patty.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, earlier this afternoon, I received a forward from Antonio Wishman with the North San School District, and it is essentially a letter from the Board of Directors with their entity expressing unanimous support to Governor Brown, and I'll kind of read their underlying point here. But essentially what they're looking to get Governor Brown to do is make a decision to have her administration cede responsibility and control for public health measures back to local authorities, so your county, your municipal, and school district officials. And so after reviewing this, I find this letter something worthy of our support as a state and city council member individually. It's actually sent off to us according to this letter as well, and Sublimity City Council and a number of other public entities here, Colt Gill, Patrick Allen, Andy Gardner, of course, Marion County Commission. And I'm just thinking that perhaps this is maybe something worthy of our support along with North Sam School District. And I'd like to put this forward to the rest of the council, whether or not we'd like to express this support unanimously along with the school district to Governor Brown, ceding this control back to local officials.
I'm in agreement with that. I saw this earlier, and I like that, David.
Thank you. Alyssa, we discussed this a little earlier. Sounds like we have at least one other counselor on board with the idea of looking at that and perhaps putting that on the next agenda to vote on as one body. I think that might be a good idea personally. For the counselors on Zoom, Alyssa's over here writing furiously about all the things that I just said I'm imagining.
I read the email too, Counselor Patty. I don't know if I have a strong opinion on it either way right this minute. I'm certainly willing to contemplate and if it were to come up for a vote, participate. But I can't say right this second whether I'd support or not right this second.
Thanks. I really appreciate that, Counselor. I hope that maybe we can talk in greater detail about it at the next meeting when it's on the agenda.
Counselor Patty, can you forward that to me? I didn't receive that.
Absolutely.
So what you're talking about right now is bringing it up at the next council meeting, whether or not we want to have a, did you say a proclamation of support for the school
I believe by charter we can.
district?
I believe by charter.
Can you just clarify what we're,
Yeah, letter of support is kind of what I was thinking.
letter of support?
Yeah.
Okay, that we're supporting what the school district is. So right now, we're just saying that we want to bring this up at that next council meeting
Yes.
to decide whether or not we want to do a letter of support. Okay, I just wanted a clarification. That's all. And I'm on board with that.
Okay.
I think we would need a motion just to
Okay.
make sure that we have the full, have a majority of council supporting it. It
Okay.
sounds like at least there is to discuss it, but to make it official, I guess, to put it on the next agenda.
Okay. So I guess what I'll say is I would like to move that we as a city council support North Santiam School or send a letter of support for North Santiam School District's goal of getting Governor Brown's office to cede responsibility and control for local public health measures back to local authorities. So your county commissioners, your municipal authority, your school district officials, those folks who are more knowledgeable and equipped to address the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic as we go into the future here. Is that kind of
and I'm just gonna, we're asking to consider a letter of support, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, do you need a second? I'll second.
Is there a motion? Did you make a motion? Okay,
Yeah, and Counselor Ort seconded.
okay. Under discussion.
Just to clarify, we're the motion is to consider the support of the school district's letter to the governor and not necessarily approval of that letter, right? We're adding that consideration to the next agenda.
Yes, a letter of support.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I will support this.
Okay, under discussion. Would anyone consider waiting till the end of March? We've suffered through 2 years coming up the 12th or 13th of next month. And we may have this thing kind of under control. And it just seems like a little late. But if we want to do this, that's fine. I'm probably the last one in the state that doesn't hate the governor and the Oregon Health Authority and anyone.
No, Mr. Mayor, I agree with you. I think it is. I mean, the governor has already stated that, the end of March is the kind of drop dead date for a lot of the mandates that we've been dealing with all this time. And we're running up into that time, especially if we're considering this at the next meeting 2 weeks from now.
No, that's fine. Counselor, I just, it's under discussion. I'm just throwing out my thoughts on the thing. It's fine. We can come back and discuss it and jump on it if we want. Not a problem. Anyway, any discussion on this? We've got a motion on the floor and a second.
I'll call for the question, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Alyssa, would you read the motion as you wrote it out?
I didn't write it all out because I was going to go back and we were going to listen to it, and I was going to ask
Okay.
Counselor Patty to send me
There you go.
what he read. So I got, it's consider sending a letter of support at the next council meeting in support of the letter from the North St. Am School District sent to Governor Brown.
All
My
right.
hands don't write that fast.
I'll withdraw hold on a minute. Let me withdraw that call for the question. I think the appropriate motion would be just to have this on the next agenda, and we can go from that point.
Yes, that's what I was hoping for.
Would that be okay? All right. Should we vote on that then? Let's go ahead. Alyssa, go ahead and poll the council, please.
Sure. Counselor Patty?
Yes.
Counselor Quigley?
Yes.
Counselor Ort?
Yes.
Counselor McDonald?
He froze. I
Uh-oh.
think he's gone.
Okay, well, that's 3-0. It's still a passing motion.
All right. Is there anything else this evening? Thank you, folks, for your time and effort. Let's call it a night. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Good night, guys.